If you've been paying attention to the Doctor Who YouTube channel over the last few days, you will have noticed that they have been dropping some videos, some intriguing videos that link into Time Lord Victorious. We're going to talk about those and all of the other news I've missed, as well as the timeline and how I'm going to cover the event while it's actually going on, all in this video. Hi, I'm Phil, welcome to my channel where I talk about all the geeky pop culture that I love, consume, and like to talk about on here, on this YouTube place. That includes things like Star Trek, the MCU, various books I read, and of course, my main bread and butter, Doctor Who. Now, I'm sure if you're a Doctor Who fan, you've heard about Time Lord Victorious. It's the big multi-platform event that is starting in... well, technically it's already started, we'll come to that in a second, but officially it kicks off in September and runs through to December and then into next year because of the COVID situation pushing the Immersive Theatre thing back. Again, we'll talk about that in a second. I've made a few videos covering a few of those aspects that have been announced gradually. We had some books announced, we had some audios announced, and I covered those in separate videos, links below. This video is to catch up a bit on all of the announcements that I haven't made videos on and to talk about the release schedule, the new videos that are coming out for the Time Lord Victorious Time Fracture Immersive Theatre event. They're coming out gradually, one day a week this week. So far, at the time of recording, we've had 2 of those videos. And also what my plans are and how I'm going to cover the event as it's happening as well. So stay tuned for all of that throughout the video. Now, the Immersive Theatre thing is the latest sort of announcements we've got. We've got a bit of an idea now of what the storyline might be, because we're getting little hints and little prelude videos that are being released on to the channel. I'm going to talk more about the Immersive Theatre thing at the end of the video, because it is the last thing, according to the timeline, that is going to be released that we're going to be able to experience. So I will talk about that a bit towards the end of the video, but here's a little snippet of the clips that they've been releasing.
This is Dr. Errol Courtney, personal identification number 64221B. Recording from former unit black site, location 51 degrees, 30 minutes, 47.7 seconds north, 0 degrees, 8 minutes, 51.9 seconds west.
So I'll be talking about that. Also, there is a timeline that has been released. Not a timeline in terms of continuity and where the stories take place in terms of the Doctor's timeline to each other, but a timeline of releases that has been released in a lovely graphical form to the world. So we now know when we were getting most of the things. Now, the thing to say about this is that when it was released, they said that it is the releases that have been announced so far, implying that there may be more to come. What they will be, who knows, but I'll try and keep you updated about when we get any more newer announcements and things to add to this. There's already a lot on there, so I don't know, what could they add? So let's go through the timeline, and as we get to things I haven't talked about in a video yet, I will go into them in a bit more detail. So the first thing that's on this timeline, and it is was a bit of a surprise to me, is A Dalek Awakens, which is the escape room. Now, A Dalek Awakens was announced before even Time Lord Victorious was announced, and it wasn't branded as Time Lord Victorious. As far as I can tell on the escape room website, it's still not branded as linked to Time Lord Victorious. So it kind of feels a bit tacked on. Now, obviously, they are going to make this something that is probably one of the least, this and Time Fracture are probably the least important to consume, to sample the whole storyline. They're going to have done that deliberately because they know that not that many people will be able to go and see it. So it makes sense that they aren't as linked into the rest of the story of the event as maybe some of the other releases are. However, it's a bit strange that as it's listed on here, it's the Time Lord Victorious branding isn't anywhere on it. But there we go. I do have a synopsis, so I will read that so you get an idea of what the story might be for this escape room. Step on board a doomed spaceship where a rogue Dalek has tapped into the power system in an attempt to recharge its weapons. Should the Doctor's most feared enemy be successful, it will exterminate all in its path. You, the Doctor's friends, must prevent this catastrophe. Shutting down the ship's power core will ensure the Dalek cannot activate its weapons. However, The ship's life support systems rely on the same energy source, meaning that shutting down the power would result in the death of all 10,000 passengers. You have just 60 minutes to find a way out of this impossible situation. You must defeat the Dalek to allow the spaceship to continue safely on its journey. Take too long, and your destination will be extermination. Now, as I said, this is already out there. You can play this game in various locations around the UK. I don't know all of them, but Reading is one, Oxford is one. Escape Room have locations across the UK, and you can play this at various locations. They are reopen, from what I can gather from the website. They've come out, they're taking COVID precautions. They will have various measures for that, so you can go and play this. However, I'm a little bit... I had heard that they were doing escape rooms over Zoom as well, and I thought this might be one of them in order more people to sample the event. Unfortunately, it looks like it's only the Cyberman story, which doesn't tie into Time Lord Victorious, that does this. So that does this playing over Zoom thing. There is a separate print and play game that you can download from their buy and download from their website as well. But again, that's not linked to this one. It's a different Dalek game. So that's a bit of a shame that those of us that either can't get to a location because, I don't know, you're outside of the UK, or you just can't get down to one, or just don't want to because you rather not. You're still trying to... I'm trying to stay outside of public places as much as possible still. I'm going, the occasional place, but I wouldn't go if I didn't need to. And so I'm certainly not going to go to anything like this at the moment. So it's a bit of a shame that we can't experience this as easily as even we would have done before the whole COVID situation. And the Zoom would have been a nice option for that. Then the event kicks off properly with issue 1 of the Titan Comics, Defender of the Daleks, which sees the 10th Doctor being called upon, well, first of all, thrown into an alternate universe, apparently. It picks up, apparently, where from the 10th Doctor's perspective, just after his crossover with the 13th Doctor comics, which Titan has just done. Now, I haven't read those personally, but I gather that crossed over with the Blink storyline, I think. So therefore, that would place this storyline, if this comes just after, around about when he's travelling with Martha. Maybe just after when he's travelling with Martha. And he's thrown into an alternate timeline where the Daleks are asking for his help to defeat a larger enemy. Presumably the Kasavin, is that what they're called? I can't remember what they're called. The main bad guys that are from this whole event, that are the ones that bestow mortality upon races. I presume that's who they're asking for his help against. The most notable thing I've noticed about this comic is that it brings back the appearance of the Emperor Dalek as seen in the TV comic from the 1960s. And I think that's the first time that we've seen that since that comic in that form. So Dalek Emperor, Big Dome, if you're a nostalgia fan, look out for that. So the first issue of that comes out on the 2nd of September. Then the Doctor Who annual comes out the next day on the 3rd of September. I don't think, from what I've read, that there's any prose contribution to the story in this. It looks to be a guide to the Dark Times that is the era from this, because the Dark Times is when this race were going around bestowing the immortality on everyone. It's also where some of the Doctor Who magazine comic is set in the Dark Times, with the 9th Doctor and Rose travelling back to it and facing off against vampires. It's a time period that Time Lords aren't meant to travel back to, so that will be, if you want a guide to those times, you can find that in the Doctor Who annual, but I don't think there's any story element in there other than just a sort of extra textual context, if you see what I mean. Then on the 17th of September in Doctor Who magazine, we get the first of their contribution to the event with Monstrous Beauty #1 comic. This, as I said, features the 9th Doctor and Rose as they're thrown back to the Dark Times and come face to face with vampires, and it's told over 3 different issues within Doctor Who magazine. So September's, October's and November's issue of Doctor Who magazine will each have a portion of this story. The blurb for this reads, "The universe is young, but war has already been born. The Vampire Alliance is swarming across the cosmos, consuming everything in its path. The Doctor discovers that not all stories surrounding Time Lord history match up with reality. But some of the horrors are actually worse than the myths. Rose becomes the first human in existence, and that's a very dangerous thing to be. Then we've got a load of ones that I've already talked about in previous videos. So on the 1st of October, we have the first book, The Night, the Fool and the Dead. If you want to see me talk about that, check out the video. Then we've got the Big Finish short trips, The Master Thief and Lesser Evils on the 7th of October. Again, I've covered those in a different video, link above and in the description down below. Then we've got the second issue of Titan Comics Defender of the Daleks out on the 8th of October. Big Finish's He Kills Me Not on the 14th of October. Again, I've already talked about that. Monstrous Beauty issue 2 in Doctor Who magazine on the 15th of October. And carrying on down the timeline, we've got then we reach the figurine collection. Now, I wasn't going to get these because I'm not a figure collector. I have 8th Doctor and Dalek up there. I have the 12th Doctor poking his little head out here. But that's it in terms of Doctor Who figures. I'm not a collector of the figures. I've got nowhere to put them, for starters. So I've mostly got these as set dressing, basically. I love them, but I'm not going to be collecting a massive amount of figures. So I wasn't going to get these. But then I heard that there are going to be little short stories in the magazine that comes with the figures. I think they're focused on the Daleks. So it's a tough choice. They're $18.99 per issue with the 2 figures. And that's quite a lot of money to spend on something where the majority of the cost comes from something that I'm not that interested in, the figures. I'm sure I'll use them. I'll probably add them to the set. Maybe I'll rotate them or something. Or maybe I'll just sell the figures. I don't know. Or maybe I'll keep them in the box. I don't know. I don't know what I'd do with them. But I am interested in it for the story aspect that comes with it, because I don't want to miss out on a bit of the story. Now, the good news is that if you don't need to worry. If you're someone who doesn't care about figures and doesn't care about having every little bit of the story, doesn't matter, because these are all made. The stories of these are all written so that they can be enjoyed as individual stories. You don't have to have absolutely everything. That's what we've been told anyway. So I'm not worried about it from that perspective, but as someone who is covering this event on this channel, and I'll talk about that in a minute, we know I kind of want to sample everything, or at least as much of it as I can, so I'm undecided about that. Let me know if you're thinking of getting them. If you're someone who isn't a figure collector, but you're going to get these anyway, let me know. Or if you're not going to get them. If you're not a figure collector, are you getting these? Let me know in the comments below. Another figure collector. Oh, that first one is out on the 20th of October and contains the Dalek Emperor and Dalek Drone. Then we've got another one on the 1st of November, which contains the Dalek Commander and Dalek Scientist. Then we get another Big Finish on the 11th of November, The Enemy of My Enemy, which I've already talked about again in the Big Finish video that I released. And then the final issue of Monstrous Beauty in Doctor Who magazine is out on the 12th of November. Titan Comics then collects their 2 issues that they have already released into, I presume, a kind of trade paperback thing. It's the Defenders of the Daleks collection on the 16th of November. It's presumably the 2 issues collected. I don't know if there's going to be any additional material collected in there that we didn't get with the other 2 issues. There might be some extra behind the scenes things, or I don't know, they might try and bump it up a bit, because 2 issues is quite small for a trade paperback, so they might try and fill it out a bit more with a bit more stuff to fill out the pages a bit and make it feel like a worthwhile buy. I'll probably still get it because I want the nice collected edition. I will get the single issues just so that I can encounter have the story as it comes out, and then I'll probably replace those with the collection when it gets released. Then on Doctor Who Day we have another figurine collection, Dalek Executioner and Dalek Strategist. Then if we carry on down the timeline, we've got a new entry here that I haven't talked about yet. BBC Audio are also releasing an audio book, as well as Big Finish doing their full cast audio dramas. We're getting an audio book from BBC Audio, and that one's called The Minds of Magnox. It's out on the 3rd of December, and this is the blurb that we get for that. This Adventures features the 10th Doctor and Brian the Ood Assassin. Love the idea of Brian the Ood Assassin, trying to uncover vital information to the ongoing struggle and the fate of the universe. The Magnox keep their secrets well, and the Doctor will be tested like never before. The story is written by Darren Jones and narrated by Jacob Dudman. So, as I said, this is an audiobook, not a full-cast audio drama, featuring the 10th Doctor and Brian, the Ood Assassin, who is probably the character that I'm most looking forward to finding out what they're like from this series, because the idea of an Ood Assassin in a tux, just like, what are they going to be like? I can't wait to find out. Then on the 4th of December, we have a newly announced Big Finish one that got announced, I think, last week or the week before. Echoes of Extinction. This was announced at a separate time to the rest of them. It is 2 stories. One is one featuring the 8th Doctor and one featuring the 10th. And they're releasing this on vinyl. That's the only way you can get hold of it in physical release. You can get hold of it as a download as well. But in terms of a physical copy, there's going to be no CD, just the vinyl. And it's going to be one story on one side of the vinyl, flip it over, you get the other story, which is quite a neat little what's the word, novelty thing. Anyway, so the vinyl is available from Asda, or will be, so no pre-ordering on that. You've kind of just got to get to Asda on the 4th of December to try and get yourself a copy, which is annoying for me because there's not an Asda near me. Not that I own a vinyl player, but I'm thinking I probably will try and pick this up in physical copy. And then annoyingly, I'll probably have to buy it again for the download to actually listen to it. That's quite annoying. But I kind of think I want the vinyl, even though I don't have a vinyl player, as a sort of, so that because I want as much of this on physical as I can get to keep. So the blurb for this is: trapped, a haunted monster waits to consume new victims. It needs help. It needs a doctor. Unfortunately, it also needs to kill whoever it meets. Thrust into imminent danger and on the back foot, it will take the Doctor's ingenuity to triumph. 2 interlinked adventures, 2 Doctors, 1 foe. A double A-side story. Choose which side to play first. So yeah, I think the idea is you can listen to these in either order, but they kind of interlink, but without the Doctors ever meeting, which is a shame because I would like to see the 10th Doctor meet the 8th Doctor. That would be quite interesting, but I gather they don't meet in this. It's just that they interlink through the bad guy. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. The 10th Doctor, I think, what is it, the 10th Doctor? One of them, anyway, has 2 Doctor Who alums starring in it alongside the 2 Doctors. And we get Arthur Darvill, who obviously played Rory in Matt Smith's era, and Mina Anwar, who played the mum of a character in Sarah Jane Adventures, are both in this, but as new characters. They do not play the characters they are famous for in the Whoniverse, which is an interesting take. I don't know how I feel about that. They have certainly had actors play multiple roles before in the Doctor Who universe, but to have somebody, particularly with Arthur Darvill, who was a companion, play somebody completely differently later on, but it not have a plot reason for it, strikes me as slightly strange. There may be a plot reason why he looks like Rory. I don't know. I haven't listened to it yet. But, that would strike me as slightly strange. But Arthur Darvill's a great actor. I'm sure he'll be great in it. It's just a little bit odd. Then on the 9th of December, we get Mutually Assured Destruction, another release from Big Finish. And the final book, that's called All Flesh in Grass. And then we get also on the 1st of March, we get the final figure collection, which will be the Time Lord Victorious, aka David Tennant in his full robes, tattered robes, and Brian the Ood on the 1st of March is being released as the figurine collection. And then, in the spring of 2021, we get the Immersive Theatre event, which, as I was saying, they're currently in the process of releasing some videos for at the moment to build up hype for it. The tickets go on sale tomorrow from when I'm recording this. The pre-sale, which I forgot to buy access to, is already on sale. So if you've got one of the Gallifreyan tokens, lucky you get first picks of the dates. I'm going to have to try and log in at 10 o'clock tomorrow to get mine. This is going to be an immersive theatre. If you don't know what immersive theatre is, it's theatre. There are actors there acting characters in front of you, but you get to interact with them. They will interact with you. You know, you move sometimes between rooms and follow them. I went to a brilliant one by a company called Punch Drunk that was on in Paddington a few years ago. And it was over a whole warehouse, and you could kind of wander into different rooms, and there were different scenes going on in different rooms. And if somebody left a scene in one room, you could follow them to see where that character went next, or you could follow the other character going to a different direction. I don't know how this version of it's going to work, because some immersive theatre makes you go around a particular route. So it might not be as free as that one I went to see in Paddington, but I'm very much looking forward to it. I love this kind of theatre, so I'm definitely getting tickets for this. As I said, the videos are being released. There's been 2 released at the time of recording. By the time I get this out, there'll probably be a 3rd. These videos take place in a former Unit Black site. Now, we know that Unit has been disbanded. So the words former Unit Black site are relevant here. These appear to be some kind of Unit soldiers. One of the soldiers in the second video refers to himself as a ex-Unit soldier, but he's still wearing the red beret, all of the kit and everything that makes him look like a Unit soldier. So the Unit logo is still everywhere. So I'm thinking this is some kind of like underground operation where Unit is still running some things maybe in the background, and it'll be interesting because this is not till spring. There are rumours that Unit is going to be featured in the winter special that we're going to be getting with the Daleks. If that's true, then we might get a bit more information then about what's happened to Unit, and maybe we'll find out they've been working, Kate Stewart and Osgood and whatever have been working underground and keeping Unit alive despite the lack of funding and official sanction. So this is a former Unit Black site. Now they give, in this unit, in these videos, they say they're studying a time fracture that's just become active in a major unprecedented way. But it's just become active, but they've been studying it for 14,682 days. That's how he starts his recording. Day 14,682. And I did the maths. That's just over 40 years. So that's, the 1980s, which is peak Unit era. Late 70s, 80s. 70s, 80s. It's the Unit era, basically. That we know of from the Pertwee years. So this time fracture has been being studied since then. Another piece of information from the video was the location of this time fracture. They gave it in longitude and latitude. I looked it up. It's just behind Bond Street in London. Literally just, you go down one street from Bond Street, and it's just from Bond Street Station, and it's just behind Bond Street Station. So I guess that might be where the immersive event is taking place. I can't remember if they've actually announced that yet or not, but presumably the location of the theatrical event will be where it's fictionally taking place as well. We get 2 doctors mentioned. The one that's talking to us, Dr. Errol Courtney, is the one that's talking to us, and his colleague is Dr. Yates. And apparently the doctor's shoe has come through, the 10th Doctor's Converse shoes. Now, we got a little bit of a blurb for this, which is interesting because it says it's set in the Blitz, but these videos do not take place in the Blitz. And if they've been studying it for 40 years, that does not take us back to the Blitz. So it'll be interesting to see how this links in, whether or not we're going to, as the audience, go in and start in the present day at the disbanded Unit Black site or whatever, and end up going to the 1940s. But the blurb is 1940. It's the height of the Blitz. A weapon of unknown origin destroys a small corner of Mayfair and simultaneously opens a rift in space and time. For decades, Unit have fought, undetected, to protect the people of Earth from the dangers it poses, weakened and beaten back as the fractures multiplied out of control. They're close to defeat. So as I said, 2 of the videos have been released so far. The first one is that the crack opens while this guy's recording a little log. And then the second one, they send the soldier into the crack. And we hear some screams. So there'll be more of those coming throughout the week. So look at the Doctor Who YouTube channel for those to find out a bit more of the backstory to that. And then that's it. That's the event as we know it so far. As I pointed out, there's a bit of a gap there in terms of releases at the beginning of 2021. So I wonder if there's going to be some more stuff that will be announced to fill that gap. We'll see. And finally, I just want to talk about how I'm going to cover the event personally on this channel. My aim, and it is just an aim, I can't promise absolutely everything because there is a lot to cover here. I'm not going to do reviews of everything. But I do want to provide some kind of resource, because I know not everybody is going to be able to, have all of this, to read, to consume all of it, but might be curious about what's going on in the things that aren't there. So my plan is to consume all of it myself as quickly as I can after it's released and create a video per thing telling you what are the main bullet points of the plot, how I think it intersects with the overall plot, and just giving you a kind of canon guide to the event as we go from my perspective anyway. I have no inside information. I don't know what's coming up ahead of time, so it will be maybe I'll get things wrong. I don't know, but it will be. We can speculate together as we go through it. It'll probably be interesting if you've read it, but it will also be there as a feature if you haven't read that particular book and don't really have the time to, but you kind of want to know what happens in it so you can see how it ties into the rest of the event. That's my plan. That's how I'm planning on covering the event. We'll see if I find the time to consume all of this stuff in good enough time, especially the books. The books are the one I'm worried about because I have not been reading a lot recently, and finding the time to read whole novels is difficult, but we will see. Please do subscribe to the channel if you're interested in that and you'll want to follow this event, and I will hopefully see you soon. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that jazz, and I will be back for more videos, Doctor Who and other pop culture soon. And of course, Time Lord Victorious. Bye.